from the scrimmage this weekend at Rutgers?
Well, I just think it's information that you can take back with you that you don't gain when you're playing one another. I would say in most cases it's really good information, particularly how good they were. I thought they were very physical. Their pitching was good. They didn't throw many balls down the middle of the plate. They certainly hit the ball well. They put pressure on us. And in the, the time that, we've been together, that's probably what we needed right away, just so that we can take that information, move forward, and grow with it.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of, Sawyer Hawks, Carter Holton, Ryan Ginther, when are they going to get back on the mound?
Sawyer today. Carter and Ginther are close, but not sure it'll be this weekend.
And then, Deegan Cordova, I know he's been hurt. What's his status?
He will start tossing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you balance playing against another opponent, obviously taking something away from that, but it also being really early on in the fall?
Yeah, I don't try to really think about balancing it so much as getting guys opportunities, see what they can do. I think it gives you, we were able to play everyone. We were able to pitch most of the staff. But I just think it's getting kids' feet wet and getting them out there. I mean, we've been on the field as a team 5 days prior to this, so, there's a newness to it. And not just the game itself, but the in-between actions that occur, whether it's in the dugout or whether it's just basic game activity that needs to be rehearsed. So it was a good opening for all of that.
R.J. Austin's played at a couple spots in the fall and played in center this summer a little bit. In an ideal world, is he playing all over this year, or is it one position ideally?
I think to get the best out of anyone, it's consistency of a position, and he would be included of that. I think when you look at guys like Austin Martin and R.J. Austin, their flexibility and the capability to play different positions it certainly helps a team, but at the same time, if you can get them closer to where they're going to be and where it benefits the team the most, I think that's the best thing.
One more pitcher, J.D. Thompson.
Yep.
What's his timetable?
It's coming. I think I would put him in the same category as Holton and Ginther.
Okay. And then, what do you see kind of happening with, the center field situation? Who do you see maybe as people who could play there?
I just see a group of kids that are playing that spot right now, and any one of them could play it, but that's, there's not a defined spot right now with any of them. They're all just playing and learning how to compete there.
And then scrimmaging a team like Wake Forest that made it to the Final Four in Omaha last year, what are you hoping to gain from playing against a team that's, been that good?
Just looking to get on the field again in a game. I mean, they certainly have a good team. We know that, and they have some very good returning players, and they acquired some very good players. So it's just a good opportunity to play a really good program that it academically and athletically is a lot like Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, in other sports, preseason scrimmages aren't made available typically to fans. What is that? What does that do for the program, just to get the fans kind of an early look at the program well before the season starts, like this weekend?
No, I think from a fan standpoint, it does. It gives you a glimpse of what potentially will be on the field. Get to see a lot of kids play, which is good, certainly for parents too. But I think for the players themselves, it puts people in the seats, and that feeling that you get by playing outside competition with fans, with interest, before February.
How was Hamilton last week?
RJ? It was good.
Well, you can do both, I guess.
Yeah. He's getting better, by the way. It's good. It's great. I talked to Ari a little bit about it, but I've been before with my wife at the same venue, and I did say back then to her, I said, if we can ever get the kids here to see this, it would be an eye-opening experience in terms of the level of just investment made into doing something really, really well at a high level and doing it every day and not having many days off and just being able to replicate performance. It certainly was eye-opening. But to be in New York, it's eye-opening. I mean, it's a great place to visit, you know, for me. Now, live there, it's like bases loaded, no outs, and a 2-0 count to Aaron Judge every time. It felt like a lot of anxiety on that bus. But I like Nashville.
Coach, obviously with the playoffs going on right now, we saw Sonny Gray in Minnesota. What is it like to be able to turn on the TV and see a former player on your screen?
Happy for him. Just happy that they get that opportunity. Former players, former coaches, you know, looking at that Phillies dugout and seeing Mike Calitri, who was coaching here, see Caleb Cotham, who played here, and then see some of our former players who have the opportunity to play at the highest level at the very end. It's happy for them. Happy that they get that experience, and happy that they can take this experience and maybe some way, somehow blend it into what they're doing right now.
I asked you about this a little bit last week, but after you know, having Andrew Dukanich having pitched twice so far this fall, you know, what have you seen from him in the early going as he kind of works back?
I think confidence and just getting back out there again, I think is the most important thing. We're trying to get him as many touches as possible. He's going to touch it again today, so good for Andrew. And he works extremely hard at what he does. He loves the craft of pitching. I mean, it's on his mind all the time. But he's a bull, I mean, physically, and he's done nice things with his body during this period. But I just, you know, I think every time you get a kid on the field after an injury that's shut them down for a long period of time, it's the growing confidence that your body can move in the same way that it did prior to the injury. And I think for him, that's where he's going.
Yeah, what's your kind of strategy for building up pitchers in the fall and then into the spring, especially with how many injuries there were at the end of last season?
I think it all differs. You know, Brownie has taken a pretty. Both he and I spoke after the year right away about moving forward with the group, and the thing about Brownie is the reason he was hired here was there was a very close. Derek Johnson, who was here previous to him, there was in my opinion, there was a very close feeling of how they operated. They loved their pitchers to throw. And Brownie is very meat and potatoes in terms of how he operates with the pitchers. It's athleticism, it's strength, and throwing. And they've done a lot of that this fall in terms of long toss, terms of getting on the mound, so they're throwing a lot. So I think what he's doing is just building up volume with every single one of them. But to your question, it's going to differ with each kid. There might not be a lot of ramp-up time for several kids who, like I'm not saying, I'm using him as an example, but a Thompson or Holden or Ginther maybe, to where they start throwing, they just keep throwing, you know, on into January and February, where another kid might take that 3-week shutdown so we can get him back in February. So it's different upon the pitcher.
Yeah, and then do you feel like it's best to have pitchers maybe throwing at their top velocity or their top, I guess, max of what they can do in the fall? Or do you think it's better for them to build that up more gradually and kind of save that for the spring?
You know, velocity, that probably is not, well, that's not the objective. The objective would be trying to get to the glove with their pitch, whatever velocity it may be, or whatever, whether it's a decelerated pitch or a fastball. I think the biggest thing is feeling strong, but at the same time being able to be a professional glove hitter. Because at the end of it, if you can do that, then you're going to experience some type of consistency and success. If you can't, then, you know, obviously it makes it more difficult because then the counts get moved towards the hitter. So I think more than anything, the objective has just been health and getting to the glove.
And then, as far as power hitting goes, there's not anybody on the roster who's ever hit, more than 10 home runs in a season. Is that a concern for you? Are there anybody you see maybe stepping into that kind of like a RJ Schreck or Spencer Jones type of role this year who maybe might not have in the past?
Yeah, it's not much of a concern. I think we've had rosters before where you bring back kids that might not have a lot of power numbers, and a Spencer Jones, for instance, and then you watch one kid grow from one year to the next. So there'll be some growth with these kids. I think if they can get to the ball, in the middle of the ball, and they're aggressive, then those things will happen naturally. But what it will look like on a piece of paper in terms of an extra base hit, double, triple home run, we just want to try to do as much of that as we possibly can.
Coach, what can a summer do for a kid? Obviously, we've seen jumps in the summers, and how do you? Do you go do you try to go to games? Do you spread it out? How do you approach the summer ball with some of your guys? And then what can a good summer look like for a player?
I think summer ball's a necessity, and I say that not everyone plays for different reasons, but I think if you're a position player, it's a necessity. You really want to accumulate as many opportunities as you possibly can, whether it's the plate or whether it's defensively. It's really a stimulating factor in growth, and seen a lot of confidence come about with kids that have gone off into, whether it's I say the Northwoods League just because the volume in the Northwoods League is significantly higher than any other league. So I just think the ability just to play and get out there. There's some kids that might be void of at-bats that have really taken off in the summer league and then bounced back here and done well. So I think it's significant when it comes to growth.
Who are some of the guys that stood out to you this summer among your own guys?
Vastine. I enjoyed watching him play. I enjoy watching our players play. I enjoyed going up there. That's kind of a thing for my wife and I to do every summer, is spend a week and just watch them play. But I would say Vastine. I would say Austin. I'm going to leave some players out. Poteet certainly had a great summer himself. But I just think that Cunningham, if their team can play well, and it's good that they go up there individually, but it's also good that they're part of something that wins. And I think Cunningham's been able to experience that 2 years in a row in the summer. Vastine was able to experience it this year. Espinal was able to experience it last year. Winning is really important in life when you're in competition and you're in sport. And learning how to win and how it's done with a group of other people is a blending mechanism that's really important for a person in general. So I think to see a lot of those teams, or a lot of our kids in the playoffs at the end, that means just as much to me as anything.
You mentioned learning how to win, and a lot of people view that as a cliche at times, but it feels like a real thing. How do you kind of develop that? Is it just doing it, or is it a mentality thing? What does that mean to you also?
It's not cliche.
Yeah. Right.
Learning how to win is also very significant. And it starts with a foundational thought of learning how to compete first, not audition, but compete and get on the field and think. You look at baseball in general, and it's made up of a one-on-one battle to start the game. It's a pitcher versus hitter, hitter versus pitcher. And it's, okay, I'm going to win this battle. And you mentioned postseason baseball, but you see it at its highest level right now. And it's the meaning behind what you do, and it's the gift behind what you do, which is if you train and practice and get in the weight room and you spend a lot of time in the batting cages or the pitching lab for a pitcher, then the gift you get is the game itself. And learning how to do that and do it well and do it with emotion but yet contained, and doing it for other people outside of yourself is a very tremendous feeling.
From the early first couple scrimmages, what have you seen from your freshman class?
I would say, at least in just going into the second week, I would say some confidence, not over the top, but enough confidence where, we were talking as a staff yesterday about, went back and gave them the example of what Ryan Flaherty and Pedro Alvarez looked like in the fall of, it was 2005. And they've really struggled. Pedro struck out a lot. I think he had one hit during the course of the fall, and Ryan was right there behind him. And we did an assessment and evaluation. All the players did one on the team, and those guys were nowhere to be seen. And at the end of the year, Alvarez hit second, Flaherty hit third, and they were our top hitters, and they were both freshman All-Americans. And I think for any kid, that's always possible. I say any kid, I mean, for kids that have some type of confidence and know they're good players. So I think you have a group of freshmen that are, I would say, talented. I think this is a good class. Now that I've been able to see them for a while, I think we recovered some good players, kept them away from signing, and I do feel like they're going to be pretty good players in time.
Do you have to change these days what you say to incoming freshmen to try to convince them to, come instead of going to the draft?
I don't change much. I mean, just speak honestly and real. Stay in our lane. Talk about Vanderbilt. Talk about opportunity. Never told anyone that they could get here and play right away. It's happened for sure, but they have to earn that. Everyone rents a position. I think we're probably moving in a time where kids and parents want to have more of a ramp of, am I going to get paid? And do I have a chance to play? And we still want to do this in a student-athlete way. We don't want to do this as an athlete-student. That's not how we've grown a program. We've grown a program based on knowledge and work ethic, and we want to continue serving the university in that way. But I think when you start to move the other way, where it becomes athlete-student, which is kind of the way right now, you're operating in a professional manner, and still don't see it professional. I still see it as a way for these kids to learn how to grow up, face adversity, get themselves back up without the help of their parents, and learn how to develop interpersonal and mental toughness skills that will allow them to go beyond the game. And I don't think you can develop those skills if you're given things or you're told you're going to get things. You have to earn them. And it's the ability to rent before you own. That's a life skill, and everyone does that. No one moves right into a house on day one and buys a house. You have to learn how to treat something first before you learn how to purchase it. And I think as an individual, it's the same process.
Yeah, so how do you think that the 4 transfers, have fit in so far and have,
They're grateful. They're very grateful. I think that's the one thing about getting transfers that may have not had these opportunities. I think they see this and go, we're going to what? Broadway? We're going to 9/11? We're getting on an airplane? We're eating here? We're staying here? I mean, when you've had those things, you probably, I'm not going to say our kids expect them because they don't. We got good kids. But I think when you get something, you tend to think that you're always going to get it. And just looking at those new kids, I think they appreciate where they are and what they have. Good? Okay. Thanks, gang. Yep, appreciate it.